Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 10 of our F1 2002 career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a couple of days ago from Silverstone, I would highly recommend going back and check it out. And of course, if you missed out on the season opener from our F1 24 driver career mode from Bahrain as well, definitely recommend going back, checking out both those videos that went live towards the end of the week. Obviously, last time around though, the British Grand Prix, Frentzen, he seems unstoppable at the moment. 3 race victories in a row. We finished second to him on 2 of those occasions. Admittedly, we haven't finished off of the podium since the season opener back in Australia. But yeah, Frentzen just steadily building up a little bit of a buffer at the top of the table. We've got a 24-point deficit to the German. We've got a further 36 points back to my teammate Michael Schumacher, who for the first time this year now is ahead of Jacques Villeneuve after his, well, third DNF of the year, second back-to-back. Villeneuve has still been a very, very quick driver, but has been admittedly quite unlucky in recent Grand Prix. Of course, we're constantly trying to do more and more upgrades onto the car in the background as well, so I believe we can do another aerodynamic upgrade before we head to Magyar Nagadic this weekend. Of course, if you're new, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel. We're trying to hit 140,000 subs at the moment. And as well, if you want to help support us just a little bit more, you can click the join button down below. It costs just £1 a month. You get early access to all the videos, as well as a few other cool little features and bits and pieces. But without further ado then, let's head here to Hungary. Well, happy memories here from the Hungaroring inside this series. It remains still the only track we've ever taken pole position at inside this career mode, so hoping that maybe we can make it back-to-back years. Of course, the McLaren car, though, last season was very, very well suited for this kind of circuit. Williams have proven this year that they just seem to have a little bit of an advantage in kind of all aspects of the car, but we are slowly bringing more and more upgrades to this Ferrari, and will continue to do so right the way through, well, to the end of the year. So hopefully, you know, we can try and at least trade a couple of pole positions with that team. Of course, we saw Michael Schumacher almost got pole last weekend at Silverstone, which over 1 lap was certainly not a circuit I expected us to be particularly quick at. But let's see what we can do here then. Of course, this circuit remains pretty much unchanged since it first arrived in Formula 1. A little bit wide through there, but 2002 rules will allow that kind of just usage of track limits a bit more than what we get in modern day Formula 1. So we wind our way in through the final few corners then of this qualifying lap. We're still right there in the fight for pole position. Could we get it back-to-back years then? Power down out of the final corner. I think we have back-to-back poles at the Hungaroring. Clearly, this is just the one track I can do it. Well, there we go then. P1 on the grid for the Hungarian Grand Prix for the 2nd year in a row. And just like last year then, we got both Williams lining up directly behind us. Michael Schumacher struggling a little bit more for 1 lap pace here, ahead of David Coulthard, Jenson Button. Anthony Davidson, a bit of a disappointing one by him, all the way down in 8th place there, just ahead of both Jaguars. But it really does seem like behind kind of Ferrari and Williams at the moment, there's a lot more jumbling up with all the other teams.
Formula One on ITV in association with Texaco.
It's race day in Budapest as we get ready for another round of the Formula One World Championship. We don't expect too many retirements at this track. There are plenty of current and former drivers with flawless finish rates here. In particular, Ralf Schumacher. He made it across the line in all 10 of his Hungarian Grand Prix starts. 14 corners then for our drivers to navigate at the 2.7-mile Hungaroring today. It's 6 lefts and 8 rights around a lap here, with average speeds in the region of 120 miles per hour.
Well, if we lose to Frentzen today, then more than likely he'll now have a 25-point buffer at the top of the table. We want to try and stop that happening as best as we can. But of course, yeah, the Hungaroring can be a bit of a tyre killer as well. So we'll have to wait and see as to how we get on. 35 laps ahead of us, though. It really is a marathon Grand Prix. And of course, it's circuits like this, here in Monaco, are kind of the real ones that kind of demonstrate just how much better Formula 1 cars have got in the last 20 years, you know, with like the aerodynamics and the drivability as well there. But last year, we got a terrible start on the run down towards Turn 1. I do not want a repeat of that today. 5 red lights on the grid. And it's going to be lights out 1. Away we go there. And I think we might have a similar story then, as both Williams immediately are going to try and get past us. We're going to cover off Michael Schumacher rather aggressively in towards Turn 1 there. I think that's David Coulthard trying to look down the inside at the first corner as well. So we will make a tiny bit of contact with our teammate apparently off of Turn 1. I believe they're 3 wide behind me in towards Turn 2 there. But the Williams once again getting the launch off the line. I mean, this Ferrari all year so far, we have seen just how tricky it is to try and get the power down, as Jenson Button getting a lightning start as well, straight up into P5. So he was able to position that Renault very, very well through those first couple of corners. But Frentzen once again, just things really, really falling into place for the German at this stage of the World Championship, straight into P1. He really does seem to have just an arm's length against Jacques Villeneuve as well right now. I mean, Villeneuve's championship hopes are looking slim to none at the moment, but if he could win today, he does still have time to get him back on track. Well, there we go, immediately fastest lap of the day then, so that's good going. No idea what this DRS he's talking about is at the moment early on in the GP, but yeah, obviously we've seen that Williams car able to fire up its tyres and seems to just react better than the Ferrari on heavy fuel so far this year. But the fact we're not letting either of them get away, we could try and go for an undercut later on if the right thing happens. I'll be honest though, looking at the way the gaps are opening up, maybe the overcut could be the way to go. So a little bit wide through Turn 4. But it is just all about whether any of us can find a spot to come out in clear air. Oh, I mean, look at that. Everybody at the front starting to set fastest laps just repeatedly now. So once again, kind of your big 3 so far this World Championship are just setting the pace there. I'll give Schumacher credit as well. You know, he's seemingly able to just keep us close by as well. He's able to hang on to the coattails of your top 3. But yeah, Frentzen, Villeneuve and I, really this has, again, a bit like last season, been such a hotly contested championship fight. I absolutely love it. It hasn't taken long then, but already I'm just starting to get reminded about kind of what is probably one of the things I change about the Hungarian Grand Prix circuit, and that is just how difficult it is to overtake here. I mean, it is Monaco without the barriers. So tough to try and make moves. Does really feel, though, that Frentzen is starting to slow Villeneuve down. But I think, yeah, at the moment, we're gapping Button by about a second a lap. So I think we'd have to extend the stint. Because I think if they come out in traffic, the overcut is going to have to be the way to go. Well, will we start to see AI into the pit lane then? I mean, what do you do down at Williams? Who gets the first call? Neither of them into the pit lane then, so that's rather interesting. Both trying to extend the stint a little bit longer. As last lap then, Michael Schumacher actually stole my fastest lap. Villeneuve will go even quicker now. But Schumacher behind, yeah, is definitely in the fight as well. I mean, all 4 cars, it seems like each lap at most are covered by like 0.2 of a second. This is brilliant, but we all kind of know one error, and that is going to be game over. Oh, there we go, Villeneuve. Villeneuve is going to be the first to blink then in our group. So does Michael Schumacher behind us then. So both of the teammates to the top 2 in the championship diving in. as we run a little bit wide there out of the final corner, but still take a new fastest lap of the day. I wonder if that just goes to show both of their desperation to try and claw back points. They've got to take bigger and bigger risk into the second half of the year. Both of them opting to go onto the hards, but they will definitely come out in traffic there as Jensen button in as well. He might not come out in traffic then if pretty much everybody's on the softs. Yeah, look at that. Villeneuve's come out in clear air. I think Schumacher might just as well come out. Oh, he's just come out behind Wirtz in the end. I think he might get the jump back on him. But yeah, this is really, really interesting for those guys then, because it'll effectively allow Villeneuve this lap just to absolutely wring the neck out of the car and try to undercut Frentzen. We go Frentzen into the pit lane as well, so these are now critical laps in our Formula 1 World Championship hopes. These are the laps that you'll look back on at the end of the season and think that either saved it or it screwed it for us. First lap under the 1 minute 20s, so clearly we've still got some life left in these softs. We need qualifying laps now. There we go, Frentzen. Just to confirm, Frentzen has come out ahead of Jacques Villeneuve as well behind. So the gap to Frentzen, 18.7 seconds. If we can get it up to 20, I think we could undercut him. I tell you what, I've got to give this Ferrari car credit as well. It is very, very quick. When it feels like everybody else is starting to pit, we just seem to be able to extract a little bit more pace out of it. There we go, a 19.2 that lap. So we're definitely now putting Williams on standby here. I don't think those hard compound tyres are working as well for them as they would have wanted. And that gap now, I reckon if we were to box now, we'd already be ahead of Villeneuve. I reckon give it one more lap and we could get the jump on Frentzen. Well, this lap then, we are going to dive into the pit lane here. The gap to Frentzen is going to be so, so close when we make our way back out. But I think the tyres now just starting to reach the cliff. I don't think they've hit it yet, but I think we're definitely only a couple of laps away from those tyres no longer being able to provide the grip we need from them. So into the pit lane we will go here. This has been a big race of strategy so far. Oh, a little bit hesitant on the way into the pit lane. Could that cost us here? As we're going to be bolting on a set of mediums, hopefully, to see us through to the end of the afternoon. 2.6 second stop. That's good. That's exactly what we need here, as now we're just watching the clock to Frentzen and Villeneuve behind there. Michael Schumacher just starting to struggle a little bit against the rest of us. But remove that pit lane limiter as early as we possibly can. Well, on the inside of Frentzen there, we almost lock the rears up down at turn 1. But we park the car on the apex. We've got to try and get some heat into the tyres there. Frentzen again is going to try and look to our outside there through turn 2. And now again, you can see we're all bunched up right on top of each other here. But we have got the jump on the Williams. Dare I say, that could be a 500 IQ strategy in this race to take the first set longer and to obviously then be ahead when we've got to try and put some temperature into the rubber. But getting ahead of them is one thing. Those Williams cars we've seen, they are rocket ships in a straight line still. So unless I'm on, keep on my toes, they could still definitely get back past. Immediately then putting these medium compound tyres to good use. You can just see the gap to Frentzen opening up. So almost a second there, as we are still running in the mid 1 minute 19. So I think the pace to the end of the afternoon is going to be relentless. If we can just get a couple of second buffer though, that's the most important thing. Just so if we end up with a little slip up, a little traction bog, especially out of that final corner, we're hopefully still not vulnerable to those Williams behind. Oh, that's exactly what we need. We're closing in on a 1 minute 18 best lap in this Grand Prix, but yeah, Frentzen now, that gap opening up to about a second then, and I hope Frentzen now realises how painful it can be for us sometimes in this series. You're really trying to wring the neck out of the car, getting everything you possibly can out of it, and still the other guy's just got a few extra tenths in the back pocket. A little bit wide there through turn 3, but for the first time really all year, this Ferrari feels like it's the car to beat, and I am loving it. There we go, finally dipping into the 1 minute 18s then, and now the pace is just starting to show against these cars behind us there. Zolt Baumgartner already nearly half a minute behind in P5. I believe he still needs to pit though between now and the end of the afternoon, but as the pace continues to ramp up, Frentzen is staying somewhat close. Schumacher has completely dropped away. And Villeneuve is barely hanging on. Well, this was the one bit I was going to be a bit nervous about towards the end of the afternoon. We've now got to try and find our way around some of the lap traffic here. I'm hoping it should only be the backmarker cars. But even they can be a little bit sketchy at the best of times, of course. Yeah, this circuit probably one of the worst for dealing with lap traffic, except for maybe Monaco. As Kimi Räikkönen then in his Minardi will try and get a nice slipstream off him on the run back down in towards one. He will let me by. But again, the AI, I mean, he almost tried to dive bomb me back into the first corner. They will just do that. Well, I know I've mentioned it before, but this is not the Jordan team I left a couple of years ago. I mean, it's probably been one of the things that has been closest accurately to what it was like in real life. But seeing the downfall of Jordan inside this game from, you know, that high of 1999, that near miss of a world championship to being backmarkers just a couple of years on, so sad. And you think, you know, with a bit more investment, you know, with a bit more money coming in, of course, they were just completely overwhelmed by all of the big factory, you know, proper, you know, manufacturer entries coming into the sport in the early 2000s. You know, a team like Jordan just couldn't thrive anymore, and it's such a shame. I mean, this weekend seems to be particularly bad. It's not often we see cars stuck actually battling in with the Minardis, but that seems to be the case today. Last weekend's Grand Prix was pretty boring in the second half for all the wrong reasons. This weekend's Grand Prix has been pretty boring in the second half for all the right reasons. Lap 30, we are about to start at 35 here, as we are still setting relentless pace at the front of the order. One of my favourite storylines still this season has been that man in front. As I've mentioned before, there is not a chance that Juan Pablo Montoya and Toyota in Formula 1 would have ever worked together IRL. But inside this series at the moment, I mean, Montoya, he's about a good, genuinely 15 seconds clear of any of the other backmarkers in this race. He is just having a really, really good season. And, you know, whether he stays with Toyota or whether he moves to a bigger team ready for next campaign, it is going to be really, really interesting to see. But the other thing I'm noticing at the moment is just how overcast it's getting around the circuit Magyar Nagadic towards the end of the afternoon. I don't think, well, we're not meant to see any rain between now and the end. But rain is certainly not that far out after the Grand Prix, as Montoya there just about will let us by. Please don't dive bomb me. That might be the last lapped car we have to deal with. But yeah, it is hopefully not going to rain. Although that being said, IRL, rain is always the pretty much only thing that makes a Hungarian Grand Prix exciting. Montoya is definitely closer to kind of the back of the midfield than anybody else in our backmarker cars is to him right now. So again, it's been a pretty good weekend by Juan Pablo. Not going to kind of get anything to show for it. But once again, just showing those other teams, you know, those more competitive teams, that he is a man that they should be requesting his services. Just over 2 laps to go, though, here from the Hungaroring, as Danica Patrick, after a good qualifying, seemingly has slumped down the order come race day Sunday. But at the moment, I believe, obviously, because we didn't actually take the win last year here, did we? We ended up, I think, finishing 3rd behind both of the Williams cars. We won't keep hold of fastest lap by the end, because that's just the way the AI work. They kind of simulate lap times, and it's far too fast once we've crossed the line. But on paper, I believe this would be our first ever Grand Slam inside this series. Not quite a Grand Chelem, because we haven't led every single lap. But pole position, race victory, and fastest lap, that's a pretty good thing. And certainly as we head into the second half of the year, of course, summer break after this weekend, that's a really, really good sign, you know, that we are competitive. And it'll certainly give Williams something to think about over the break as well. There is Zolt Baumgartner almost ruining that for me. Come on, let's just see the checkered flag. Well, last lap then here, and you can just see 2 cars in front of us. Oh no! Surely Villeneuve's just gone and pipped my best lap by 5 thousandths of a second there. As soon as I start talking about it, Williams have to try and spoil my party. I don't know if we're going to be able to try and go quicker again on this last lap, but we will certainly try around this venue there. I mean, like I said, neither of us will keep the fastest lap bonus point. I'm sure it'll go to someone a little bit further down the order. But we do go green again through that first sector. If I can set another new fastest lap on this last one, then I'm going to claim it as a Grand Slam here. But yeah, the last few races, of course, been really, really tough. We just have not had anything to fight against Williams. But a bit like last season when we were down at McLaren, you know, a good result here can really springboard you into the second half of the season. Was a little bit worried about where Mark Webber was going in towards those final couple of corners. And look at that, David Coulthard just in front of me. It's days like today. I mean, pretty much every race this season I've been happy that we didn't stick at McLaren. And the fact that we're almost lapping DC here goes to show how good a chance that was. It is P1 here at the Hungaroring, and we also take fastest lap.
It's a performance to be proud of today from our Hungarian Grand Prix winners. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
Ferrari are at it again, an excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
Well, there we are then. We do take victory here at the Hungaroring. Annoyingly, Frentzen, obviously, well, sorry, Villeneuve even did set a slightly faster lap time in the end, but you can just see everybody that was a lap down, or almost a lap down, able to set some really, you know, unrealistic lap times at the end of the day. Luckily, it shouldn't change too much in terms of the World Championship as well there, but obviously, that not only helps us in the drivers' table, but also Ferrari in the constructors, as we will make a little bit of progress against Williams there. Schumacher, I'm sure, will be a little bit disappointed to finish a little way away in fourth, ahead of Button, who was comfortably ahead of Anthony Davidson, who himself was ahead of Jarno Trulli there, and Alex Wurz. McLaren's rounding out the top 10. Marc Genet, actually a pretty good recovery drive on the alternate strategy there to beat out David Coulthard. And you can see everybody that didn't score a point ended up a lap down come the end of the afternoon. Championship-wise, the gap at the top now down to just 17 points at the top of the table. You can see Schumacher now has only got a 2-point buffer ahead of Jacques Villeneuve there, and the ever-consistent Davidson only, what's he, 43 points back from them. I think Davidson is closer to Villeneuve than Villeneuve is to Heinz-Harald Frentzen, which is quite funny at this point of the World Championship. DC still ahead of Danica Patrick, who's now tied with Marc Genet. Rubens Barrichello now just still ahead of Button, who gets the jump on Mark Webber. No other movers, though, towards the rear of your championship. The gap in the constructors, though, down to just 15 points, though, as BAR make great progress against McLaren. Sauber jump Jaguar as well, and I mean, we could be in for a fight for P1, P3, and P5 there between Sauber, Jaguar and Renault, and of course those backmarker teams. All it takes is one good result, and they could score a point that could make the difference come the end of the year. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourselves subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for the Belgian Grand Prix.